Some people come to the monastery to find God, but he didn't. One late autumn afternoon, just as the rain began to fall, a young man appeared at the monastery gate. Soaked through, a worn-out backpack on his shoulders, his face dotted with exhaustion, eyes heavy from lack of sleep. He looked about 26, maybe younger, if not for the gaze that seemed far too old. He stood silently under the eaves for a long while, as if debating whether to knock or walk away. Then, with the last bit of courage he had left, he knocked 3 times. Soft but clear. When I opened the door, he didn't beat around the bush. No small talk, no polite greetings. He just said one thing, firm, hoarse. I didn't come here to find God. If you're planning to preach, I'm sorry in advance. I smiled, not because what he said was strange, but because I'd heard it many times before from people standing right on the edge of collapse. He spoke again, this time more softly, like he only wanted himself to hear it. I came here because if I didn't go somewhere, I think I would have fallen apart. We didn't ask more. The monastery always has room for the weary. We brought him to a small room behind the dining hall. The most humble one, but also the quietest. He didn't carry much, just a backpack and a leather-covered laptop. When he placed his things on the bed, his hand trembled slightly, like someone who'd just survived something traumatic but hadn't realized it yet. That night, I saw him sitting alone beneath the Bodhi tree in the courtyard, hands clutching his head, eyes staring into a place that didn't seem to exist. He worked in design. I learned that later. A freelancer, big projects, international clients. A magazine once called him a rising young talent. But now all that spotlight had drained from his eyes. Inside, he was someone gasping for air, exhausted, lost, and maybe on the edge of despair. A few days later, he told me, he once stood on the edge of an 18th floor balcony, toes just one step away from the void. But instead of jumping, he went online and typed, "Where's quiet enough for the mind to stop screaming?" And then Google pointed him to this monastery. That's how he came, not to seek answers from the universe, but just to find a place where he no longer had to keep pretending to survive. On his second day at the monastery, the sun was soft. He sat at a wooden table behind the garden, where the faint scent of herbal tea drifted in from the kitchen. His hands rested on a laptop keyboard, but the screen was blank. No words, no design, just the blinking cursor, waiting, like it had been waiting for something long lost. I sat down across from him, saying nothing. After a while, he let out a sigh, shut the screen, and looked at me, like someone forcing himself to admit something deeply unpleasant. "I used to love this job," he said. "Design used to make me forget to eat, forget to sleep. I get so deep into it that I wouldn't notice the sun had come up. But now, every time I open my laptop, it feels like I'm falling into a dark hole. And the worst part is when I finish a big project, send it off, get praise, but inside, I feel completely hollow." He paused, eyes drifting toward the clear blue sky, then added, softer this time, "I think I lost myself somewhere between all those moments of perfection." He told me his friends all seemed settled. Some were getting married, some buying homes, others had become managers. Meanwhile, he, though earning well, was trapped in a loop of deadlines, expectations, and constant comparison. He said he still smiled on social media, still went out for coffee, still talked passionately about new projects. But really, it was all just one long escape, away from a growing sense of falling behind in his own life. "I don't even know what I'm chasing anymore," he said, his voice cracking. "It's like someone flipped off the switch inside me. Everything's still running, but it's just the shell. I wake up every morning feeling late. Late for what? I don't know. But it sits on my chest like a stone. Like I missed some important appointment. Like there was a train and I never made it on." I said nothing, because sometimes what people need isn't advice. It's simply a space to pour themselves out. He leaned back in the chair, hand over his forehead. "Do you believe me," he asked, "that some nights I jerk awake, heart pounding, from an alarm that never even rang? It's like my body keeps living as if it's being chased, even though no one's chasing me at all." When he fell silent, a gentle breeze passed through. Golden leaves fluttered down onto the table. And I thought to myself, sometimes Mental exhaustion doesn't scream. It's just a silence. So heavy, it melts you from the inside out. That morning, the air was crisp with cold. Smoke curled up from the kitchen behind the dining hall. Thin, silvery threads, like memories just beginning to surface. At this monastery, the stove runs on firewood. No electric oven. No timers. Just flame, bare hands, and full attention. He was assigned to toast bread, a task that seemed simple enough. But for someone who had lived in the digital world for too long, it was a quiet test of presence. At first, everything looked fine. He carefully placed the slices on the wooden stove, closed the lid, then turned to his phone. Even after 3 days at the monastery, he hadn't shaken the habit of his morning check-in. Email inbox, project planner, a few quick replies to clients waiting in different time zones. Just a few minutes passed. But in the world of fire, a few minutes without focus is all it takes to burn something away. When he lifted the lid, the sharp smell of burnt toast hit him like a slap. The bread was black, charred like coal. He froze, then quickly grabbed it out, placing it onto a wooden plate. Staring at the slice, it was as if he were staring at his own life, scorched beyond recognition. "Damn it," he muttered, nearly snapping. He pulled a spoon from his pocket and began scraping the toast hard, breadcrumbs flying everywhere. With each stroke, his voice cracked between clenched teeth. "Always like this. I mess everything up. Stupid toaster, stupid me." I stood quietly behind him, watching. This wasn't about a piece of bread. It was months of misalignment, nights with no rest and no praise. Emails sent into a void with no reply. Not the kind that truly understands. This was him, in an old kitchen, scraping away at burnt toast, as if trying to peel off the scars of his past. I stepped forward, gently placed a hand on his shoulder, and said, "Stop scraping. Eat it." He looked up, surprised, like I just asked him to do something absurd. "Eat this." I nodded, gaze steady and kind. "Yes. Don't fix it. Don't hide it. Taste it. Feel it. It's yours." He hesitated, then slowly brought the slice to his mouth. The burnt taste hit his tongue hard. He winced, coughed lightly, then let out a small laugh. "God, that's awful." I replied, just as softly, "Yes, but at least this time, you're here to feel it. You didn't avoid it. You didn't scrape it away. You didn't pretend it never happened." He looked at me, and for the first time, in those red, tired eyes, something softened. Just a little crack. But it's the cracks that let the light in. The next morning, I found him sitting alone on the stone steps behind the garden, right where the old frangipani tree sheds white petals across the path. He no longer looked restless like those first days. But he wasn't at peace either. What stood out on his face was something quieter. The stillness of someone who had just come face to face with a part of himself he'd spent years avoiding. I sat down beside him without a word, and then he started speaking, as if the silence had been the key that finally unlocked a door sealed too long. "You know, I used to think I was a man with a plan," he began. "At 18, I told myself, by 25, I'll have a house, a name, freedom. I believed that if I worked hard enough, if I controlled things tightly enough, life would obediently follow my script." He gave a crooked smile, the kind that didn't reach the eyes. But one by one, things slipped through my hands. My first love ended because I never had time. My closest friend said, "You've changed," and walked away. A major project I was banking everything on crashed days before the deadline. And me? I just kept running, like none of it ever happened. He looked up at me, eyes sharp with bitterness. I kept thinking I could fix it, redo it, rearrange everything, clean up the mess. But now, I am tired. I don't want to fix anymore. Because no matter how much I patch it up, it still feels like a distorted draft, something never meant to be final. I waited a moment, then answered quietly, "Do you know why that burnt toast yesterday mattered?" He didn't reply, so I continued. "Because for the first time, you stopped. You didn't try to perfect it by scraping it clean. You didn't pretend it hadn't gone wrong. You tasted it, charred, bitter, hard to swallow, but real. And only in the real can we begin to learn what's truly worth keeping." He sat in silence. After a while, his voice broke through, low and honest. "I think I'm like that toast. Burned too long, edges blackened, bitter to the core. And I've been trying so hard to scrape parts of myself off, rubbing out memories, trying to forget, erase the past, only to realize, the more I scrape, the more of me I lose. A breeze passed through, and a few white frangipani petals drifted gently onto his shoulder. And for the first time, he let the tears fall. No drama, no bravun, just quiet tears, the kind that come when the heart finally stops holding itself together. I didn't wipe them away. I let them fall, because some pain needs to flow through us, not be stopped, if it's ever going to wash away what's broken inside. On the 5th morning, when I stepped into the kitchen, he was already there. Earlier than usual. No one had woken him. No one assigned him a task. No reminders. He was tending the fire, each piece of wood placed with care. His hands, no longer clumsy like the day before. Not rushed, not frantic, just quiet, like someone who had finally stopped trying to control the flame and was now learning how to walk with it. The slice of bread went onto the firewood stove. The flames rose, crackling, but he didn't glance at his phone, didn't fidget. He simply folded his arms and waited. A faint burnt smell began to rise. But this time, he didn't panic. He opened the lid, gently lifted the toast out. The edges were crisped, the bottom blackened, again like yesterday. But he didn't scrape, didn't curse. He just sat down, tore off a corner, and ate. He walked over, watched him chew slowly, his face twitching from the bitterness. Then he laughed, not the forced kind that masked discomfort, but a real laugh, a light one, free. Still burnt, he said, but it's okay. I think, I get it now. I asked, get what? He put the toast down on the wooden plate, his fingers interlacing. I've spent most of my youth trying to get it right. Right plans, right expectations, right roles. But no one ever taught me how to be real. He looked at me, his voice low and steady. I was so afraid of failure that I wanted to erase every burnt edge, refuse every flaw, because I couldn't accept that I, too, can be wrong. A pause. Then he added, but burnt toast is still breakfast, and I'm still alive. Even if yesterday was messy, even if today tastes bitter. Maybe what I really need isn't a perfect life, but a life where I show up fully in every moment. Burnt or beautiful, messy or whole. I smiled, said nothing, because I knew something had changed. Not his career, not his path, but his way of being. He was no longer the boy running from himself. He had begun to taste life, not selectively, not by filtering or fixing, but raw, imperfect, and true. And sometimes, just that is enough to begin again. The last morning before he left the monastery, he woke up very early. The sky hadn't fully lightened yet. The first rays of dawn tiptoed through the bamboo grove, and the air held the gentle chill of highland mornings. I saw him in the kitchen, once again, still the same slice of bread, still the fire, still that calm, effortless focus. This time, the toast wasn't burnt black, nor was it perfectly golden. The edges were slightly scorched, the top gently crisped, carrying the smoky scent of wood and brown flour. He sat down, took a bite, and chewed slowly. Nobody mate. No self-congratulatory nod, just a small, quiet gesture, like he was speaking to himself. Yeah, this is good enough for today. I sat beside him. Neither of us spoke for a while. Only the soft chirping of forest birds in the distance, and the crackle of crisp toast breaking in his mouth. A simple breakfast. No achievements, no goals. But it was the first morning he was truly present in his own life. He turned to me and said softly, I think I've been running for too long, just trying to make my life look like a flawless draft. No erasures, no mistakes, no wrong turns. But now I understand. Life isn't a final submission. It's a rough draft. Every single day. I smiled. He went on. And I used to try to fix that draft by erasing everything that didn't turn out right. The broken relationships, the failed projects, the pain I once saw as stains. But then I realized those burnt bits, those mistakes, they're the very things that teach us how to live. He looked at me. No more hesitation in his eyes. His voice low but steady. Maybe I still don't know where I'm going. Maybe I'll keep messing up. Maybe I'll get burnt a few more times, but I won't scrape it away anymore. I'll taste it, learn from it, and toast a new slice. With everything I've come to understand, I place my hand gently on his shoulder like a breeze. That's right. Life doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be real. And as long as you show up, even burnt toast can be a soulful breakfast. He left the monastery that afternoon. No grand words, no big promises, just a final glance back at the old kitchen and a smile. The kind of smile that belongs to someone who's finally found their way back to themselves after years apart. And I knew that 26-year-old young man had finally let go of the perfect draft in his mind to start truly living with all the burnt, fragrant, flavorful slices life had to offer. When he left, the kitchen returned to its usual quiet. But for me, something lingered. Not the sound of crackling toast, not the stories about work or failure, but the deep echo of a moment when someone paused, acknowledged their imperfection, and chose to live with it. From a first burnt slice, to the second one he ate without complaint, to the third when he toasted it himself. Not because someone told him to, not because he had to do it right. That wasn't just a journey of learning how to make toast. It was a journey inward. I thought about all the people out there, about us, modern humans, living in a world of deadlines, KPIs, expectations, and endless checklists. We're taught that life must follow a roadmap, that we must improve constantly, get everything right from the very beginning, and if we fail, then we're told to fix it, hide it, redo it until it's flawless. But the truth is, life is not a test. It's breakfast. A different breakfast every day, with slices that may burn, come out bland, or surprise you with a little sweetness. There will be joyful days, gloomy days, and numb days. There will be mornings filled with laughter over a cup of tea, and mornings when you just sit quietly, staring at burnt toast you forgot in the oven. But all of it is life. All of it is the honest draft you're writing day by day. That young man didn't find all the answers, but he found a part of himself that had been lost, somewhere between numbers, expectations, and the need to always fix what went wrong. And maybe that's the first real step toward growing up. So if you're reading or hearing this, I invite you to ask yourself, when was the last time you sat down for breakfast with no phone, no scrolling, no thinking about yesterday or worrying about tomorrow? When was the last time you let yourself be a little off, a little late, a little imperfect, and still loved yourself anyway? Remember, life doesn't need you to be perfect. It just needs you to be present in every bite, every moment, every breath. And if today you happen to burn the slice of your life a little too much, don't rush to scrape it off. Taste it. Who knows? That bitter edge might be exactly what reminds you you're still alive. You see, not all of us need a revolution to change our lives. Sometimes all it takes is to pause beside a burnt slice of toast and choose not to fix it anymore. Maybe you're in your 20s or already navigating the uncertainties of your 30s. Maybe you've been trying so hard to live a life worth admiring, only to realize that what's drained you isn't a lack of effort, but a loss of authenticity. We're taught to believe we must tweak until it's right, perfect it until it shines, erase every smudge to be considered living well. But like that burnt piece of toast the young man had, sometimes the flaws, the bitterness, the imperfect bits are exactly what give life its real flavor. Life is not a draft waiting for submission. It's breakfast every day, a slice of toast each morning. Sometimes crisp, sometimes burnt, sometimes bland, sometimes delicious, but always in the making. So, if today you feel not good enough, not right enough, not beautiful enough to meet expectations, just breathe, sit down, eat your breakfast, even if it's a little burnt, because maybe, just maybe, what you once wanted to throw away is where the truest taste of life has been hiding all along.